Okay, I'll try. If not, you let me know.
Yeah.
So tonight is Rosh Chodesh Adar. The way it's actually this year's 2 others, which in short, the way the calendar works is that there's 2 types of ways of tracking time. One based on the sun. It takes 365 days for the full to go around. The other way is the moon, which is every 29 and a half days, you have a new moon. So when you have a lunar calendar, you have real months, because every new moon is a new month. And you just say about 12 months equals a year. While we have a solar calendar, you have a real year because it goes around, but then you don't have real months. Just to call a month 30 days. There's no real difference between one month and the next month. We take track. Hashem says, we read it in the parsha 2 weeks ago. We track time based on the moon. So so that's how we take the time. That's how we track it. But if we're only going to have the lunar calendar, then we're going to end up falling behind, because in a solar calendar is 365 days. In the lunar calendar is 354 days. So if we're 11 days behind, so every 2-3 years we need to catch up and have a leap year. If we don't have a leap year, then all the seasons would go off, and we would celebrate Pesach in the middle of the winter, and Hanukkah in the summer, and Sukkot, at other times. And the Torah says that the Yom Tovim has to be in the seasons: Pesach in the spring, Shavuos when they're harvesting, and Sukkot when they're bringing the wheat and their produce into the homes. So tonight begins the leap year month. Now, which month should they make a leap year? If you have to make an extra month, which month should be the leap year? So the Chacham did it the month before Pesach, because Pesach has to be in the spring. But maybe also the Chacham who made it then were also Hasidim. So they had to choose a month to make it a leap year. They're going to choose the happy month, Adar. And some people might have chosen other month, but we made sure it would be a happy month, so we should have double joy. Because it says the Mishnah says that when Adar comes in, you have to increase in joy. So now we have this halacha to increase in joy for 60 days, starting from Adar Aleph, starting from tonight. We have to increase in joy. Now, it sounds good. Everyone likes to hear the words happiness, joy. It makes us smile, makes us happy, and especially to say you have to be joyous for the next 60 days. I'm sure everyone likes to hear that, and sounds good. But what does that mean realistically? Realistically, what does it mean that I'm going to be happy for the next 60 days? And how could I really make it that I should become happy for the next 60 days? What's really the difference between the month of Adar in my joy, or the month of Shvat, or the month of Sivan, etc.? So, I'll start off with a story about joy, which I think and then we'll go into further detail. There was once a Hasidic Rebbe in Poland or Ukraine, and he lived very poorly, because even though he had followers, Hasidim would come, and they would when they would come to get blessings or to spend time with him, they would all leave a donation to support the Rebbe. But the Rebbe would have some people coming in the street giving him charity, but other people would come with their stories, and life was very difficult. It was very hard to have a living, it was hard to marry off their children, to support their families, etc. So the Rebbe would give out all his money to all the poor people would come to him. And he lived himself very poorly. So one time there was a wealthy chassid who felt he wanted to change it. He wanted to help the Rebbe to be able to support himself. So he went to the Rebbe. He says, "Rebbe, I'm giving you a big sum of money. This is not for charity. This is for your family's expenses, to support your family, for have what they need, enough food and clothing and all their needs. They should live properly. You shouldn't live like a poor person. And this is not to distribute." So Rebbe looks at him and says, I don't, thank you very much, so kind of you, but I have what I need. I have two keys. Now, in English, in Hebrew, the word key means because. In English, key is like to open up a lock. In Yiddish, it means a cow. Cow in we say cow. In the Russian Yiddish, you say a ku, and in the Polish Yiddish, you say a key. So he tells the chassid, I have two, ich hab zwei keys. I have two, which where he understood it, in English, he would say, I have two cows. And therefore, the chassid understood, and at the time in those villages, a cow gives milk, and you sell the milk, and you sell some of it, you turn some of it into butter, you turn some of it into cheese, and you have enough to eat for the family, and then it gives a lot what to eat, and the rest you sell and makes other money. So he has a source of livelihood. He doesn't need anything else. So the chassid thinks to himself, okay, the Rebbe won't accept charity from him. So instead of giving the Rebbe charity, he's gonna go buy milk from the Rebbe's cows, and that way he'll pay a lot of money, and he'll overpay, but that way he'll make sure the Rebbe has some money. So he goes to the Rebbe, goes to Rebbe's wife, goes to Rebbitzin, and says, Rebbitzin, I would love to buy some milk from your cows. And I'll pay very well for it. She starts looking at him and laughing at him and says, what cows? We don't even have chickens. What are you talking about having cows? He's like, what do you mean? The Rebbe just told me that he has cows. He says, you have two cows. She says, no, we don't have any cows. I don't know what the Rebbe told you. I don't know what he meant, what you understood. There's no cows here. So he goes back to the Rebbe. He says, Rebbe, I asked your wife about the cows. I wanted to buy some milk, and he says, she says you don't have any cows. The Rebbe says, now again, you have to, it was in Yiddish. The Rebbe said, I didn't mean the Yiddish cows or Yiddish keys, which it means cows. I meant the Hebrew keys. Which keys? The pasuk, it says in Tehillim, David HaMelech says, Kiva yismach libeinu, ki v'shem kodshe v'tachnu. That in Hashem gladdens our heart. Hashem kivoi, because in Him Yismach Lebeinu, He makes our hearts happy. And then again, Kivushem Kachadach, His holy name, we trust. These are my two. You told me that He says my two keys are not physical cows, but the pasuk of Hashem gladdens my heart, and I trust in Him. He gives me everything I need. And therefore, I don't need to thank Baruch Hashem. He doesn't need his money because he has the Hashem who provides for what he needs. So this is an idea of to know what does it mean to have joy. So a lot of having simcha comes from kivayis machlibenu, trusting in Hashem, and Hashem being the source of our joy is what brings us to have a lot of joy in our life. So I was thinking, in davening, we ask Hashem for all our needs. We have Shemoneh Esrei, we ask of the 19 brachos, we ask Hashem for wisdom and for health and for parnasa and for Mashiach, etc. To Yerushalayim. But where do we ask Hashem for? Then we have Simshalim, we ask Hashem for peace and good and bracha, chayim, chen, chesed, rachamim. It's beautiful. But where do we ask Hashem for simcha? Furthermore, if you ask any person, say, I want to pray for you, what should I ask for you? You say, I want to have good health, peace of mind, and happiness. That's really what we all want. We all want to be happy in life, and we're pursuing it, and we're doing everything we could to bring us happiness, and we're going away from anything that could disturb our happiness. Yet something so important as happiness, we never ask for in davening. We don't ask Hashem to give us simcha. And then it brought me to thinking, so where do we mention simcha in davening? So we mention simcha in a few times. When we talk about Torah mitzvahs, we say by Ma'ariv, in Ma'ariv we say before Shema, in the second, we say, we should rejoice in your Torah mitzvahs forever. That's one mitzvah. Then we talk about Hashem Geula, whether we ask for Geula or we mention the other previous gulas when Hashem redeemed us. So we mention over there the idea of simcha. We say like by splitting of the sea. When we said the shira, we said b'simcha rabba with a lot of joy. We said the micha meicham. We say v'sameach nafshenu b'shuasecha. On Shabbos we ask Hashem to save us. So we ask Hashem v'sameach to give us simcha. So. And then Rosh Hashanah Kippur, we mentioned how Mashiach will come and Hashem's glory will fill the whole world. Everyone will see Hashem. Then the tzaddikim will rejoice. There'll be a lot of simcha then. Rosh Chodesh tomorrow, and we mention in Musaf simcha. But it's really about Mashiach's coming and the revelation of Hashem and about Torah mitzvahs. But to ask for just simcha on a just to have like joy in my life, we don't ask for it. And that led me to think, where do we find simcha in the Torah? Such an important thing. It's so important to all of us. Where do we find the Torah in the Torah? Where do we find simcha? So I didn't look up. I didn't do a search engine to look up where everywhere the word simcha comes up. But from what I remember and what came to my mind were a few times, and I think that this really gives us an understanding of how to be truly besimcha. In other words, you want to be simcha, so look at what Torah has to say about simcha, and then this could give us an understanding of how to be besimcha. So the first thing I thought was that in English, the word happy, really you use it in two ways. When you ask, one way is, are you happy with your day? Like, someone gets a seat on the plane. Are you happy with your seat? Then there's a way of happy of, when a person's very happy, he's rejoicing in his celebration. So in English we use the same word happy for both, but in Yiddish or in other languages use different words. In Yiddish, use two separate words for happy. One is zufrieden. If anyone here speaks Yiddish, so you have the word zufrieden, and the other word is freilach. Freilach and zufrieden are two separate. Mean two separate things. They both in English they're both translated as happy, but in context, it's used differently. Zufrieden, you say, are you happy? You mean it basically means content. I'm zufrieden, I'm happy. Everything is good, everything works out, I'm content. Freilach, means Freilach is the idea of happy. When a person's like jumping up, he's singing, he's dancing, that's Freilach. Freilach is like is an extra feeling of joy. Zufrieden is content. So I realized that maybe in Hebrew, when we say simcha, is referring to the higher. It's not in English happy. It's referring to joy. Is the idea of simcha, and the simple way we use simcha in happy in English, in Hebrew really would be shalom, would be peace, and that's why when I realized that, I realized how important the bracha of shalom is. We have a special last bracha Shemini Esrei. We ask for peace. Sim shalom, give us peace. And then we end off, it's good in your eyes to bless us all with peace. Hashem bless us with peace. And then we have later on one of the pasuk we say always at the end of Shemini Esrei, at the end of Kaddish, at the end of benching, Hashem makes peace in the high, shall make peace on us, and let us say Amen. So I always understood peace as being not fighting with anyone, to have which is very important, to get along, to be united, and that's the idea of shalom, peace. But I realized that maybe it's more than that. It's not peace. When we say shalom, we don't just mean that they shouldn't be fighting with anyone. Shalom also is referring to having peace of mind. Shalom is also the idea of not having any extra worries, not having any stress. A person's at peace. He has everything they need, and they're content. They're at peace. They're not stressed. They're not worried Of course, there's always the normal, healthy stress, but there's nothing. They don't want any. They're happy the way it is. They're happy with their life. They're happy with their family. They're happy with their marriage. They're happy with their children. Happy with their parents. They're happy with their friends. They're happy with their home. There's community, etc. They're at peace. Of course, there's day to day. There's always, when a person's growing, there's always the growing pains, but in a small, healthy way. Nothing great. And that's what we're always asking to. In the Birchas Kainim, when the Kain gives a blessing, we conclude, the Yasim L'chal Shalom will give us peace. Yes, we shouldn't be fighting. There shouldn't be any wars, which is what's going on in Israel now. We understand, we feel how terrible it is to be having to just always fight for our existence, for our safety. And then you have sometimes in communities when other groups don't get along with each other, or in a family there could be fighting, and it's a terrible, terrible thing. So that it's also included in the idea of peace. But in general, the idea of Yasim, the idea of Hashem giving us peace is in. It also refers to having everything well and peace of mind. So that's the idea of shalom. And that when we say, "Are you happy?" in Hebrew, probably you would mean, "Are you at peace? Are you at peace? Do you have peace in your life?" And that's a tremendous blessing. And we need Hashem to have peace. You can't have peace on your own. You can make peace with someone fighting at you, but you can't have peace of mind on your own. If someone has a problem, then they can't have peace of mind. They could try to distract themselves, but it's hard to enjoy life when they have a health crisis, or when they have, or when they're lonely, or if they're worried about their children, or if they're worried about their parents, etc. It's hard to have peace of mind when they have this grave concern. That's shalom. Simcha, joy, is a whole higher other thing. Joy is the feeling of being extra happy. So I was thinking that we ask Hashem for peace, because you can't bring peace upon yourself. You can't make yourself healthy. Of course, we can do steps to try to improve the health of our life, but we can't make ourselves healthy. If some, God forbid, is sick, they need Hashem to help them, that the medicine should work, or the surgery succeed, etc. On their own, they can't do it. You can't make yourself wealthy. Parnasa, of course, we have to try and work, but we need Hashem's blessing that the deal should go through, and that the customer should want to come, or that the supplier should supply, etc. You need Hashem's blessing in that. In a marriage, you need Hashem's blessing that everything should go well. Of course, we have to do our part, but a lot of it we know is relying on the blessing of Hashem. Hashem has to give the blessing. And that's Sim Shalom. We ask Hashem for peace, we ask Hashem for life, we're asking Hashem to bless us. But the simcha, the feeling of joy, that you don't ask for Hashem. We ask Hashem for the peace, for the blessings, to be able to be happy. But the simcha, we have to achieve ourselves. We have to make ourselves happy. We have to make us ourselves have that feeling. Hashem does not give the feeling to us. Initially, He does. When it's a new thing, it's a fresh thing, He gives us the natural. You should become excited. That as time passes, that excitement wears off. Even if the thing remains just as important to the person, but it doesn't remain a source of joy in your heart after a while. But we have to make it. The joyous feeling we create with the gifts that Hashem gave us. And Hashem gives us a mitzvah. We should be happy. We're supposed to be happy, but we have to create those feelings with the blessings that He gives us. So I was thinking that now that we have this approach, that Hashem gives us what to be happy about, but we have to actually create those feelings in ourselves, and we have to ask ourselves, how do I become happy? What do I need to do to be happy in my life? So I was thinking that there's a few things that look in the Torah. The Torah tells us what to be, how to be happy, and what will make us happy, and what we should do to be happy. And especially now that it's a Chodesh Adar, we have to feel our feelings of happiness. So now look at the Torah, and the Torah will tell us what to do. The first mention of simcha that I found in the Torah, that I think is mentioned in the Torah, is with Moshe Rabbeinu and Aaron. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu that Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu is a shepherd. He's tendering his flock, and the sheep runs away. He comes to the burning bush. Hashem appears to Moshe in the burning bush and says, "I hear the cries of Jewish people. I want you to redeem the Jews out of Egypt." Now Moshe Rabbeinu was very humble, and he's very sensitive, and he has an older brother who's also a qualified leader, and it was actually a leader to the Jewish people in Egypt, Aaron. And Hashem is worried that Moshe Rabbeinu is worried that if he's going to come back to Egypt as the leader, his older brother is going to come insulted and be hurt, because here he is, an older brother, a qualified prophet, a tzaddik, a leader to the Jewish people, and his younger brother is going to come back to Egypt after being MIA, after being missing in action, after not being around for 40 or 60 years. He's going to come back to him and say, "Oh, Hashem sent me to lead the Jews out of Egypt." Why wouldn't Hashem ask Aaron? He's older and he's qualified and he's leading. He's doing a good job. So Moshe is very concerned about his brother's feelings. So Hashem tells him, "Don't worry about Aaron. Aaron is going to, you're going to see that when you come back to Egypt, Aaron is going to come out. He's going to greet you. And he will be happy in his heart." So Aaron will greet you. Will greet you. He won't make a fight, and he's going to be friendly, and he's going to be genuinely friendly. He's really going to be happy that you got this position and you have it. He's not going to be hurt. He's going to be happy in his heart. He'll be happy for you. So I think this is the first time the word simcha is in the Torah, and I think the Torah is telling us something very important. And we'll go on to the next ones. If you want to be happy, learn from Aaron. The Torah testifies Aaron was happy in his heart. What did he do when he was happy in his heart? He was happy for his brother. So I think there's two lessons here. Number one, that the relationships we have with others, with having good friends, and especially being connected to a tzaddik, brings us a source of simcha. Aaron was going to greet Moshe. He had a relationship with Moshe. Moshe is both his brother and he's the tzaddik. That was a source of simcha. So the Torah is telling us that by through being connected to a tzaddik, we have simcha, and also by having good friends, you'll have simcha. So where a lot of times we're chasing joy, we're looking to be happy, and we're trying to figure what will make me happy. I'll have a nicer home. I'll drive a nicer car. I'll wear nicer clothing. I'll eat better food. A lot of times it comes to having material things that will give me joy. And the Torah says no, it doesn't come from that. It comes from being from who your friends are, who you're connected to. If you're connected, if you go and greet Moshe Rabbeinu, you'll have a lot of joy. Tzaddikim bring us a lot of joy. And also by having a good friends, those bring us joy. The people we spend time with, that is the real source of joy. And sometimes it's easy to have a good friend, and so it automatically gives you joy. And sometimes it takes work to create a friendship and invest in the friendship, but and to be generous, etc. Or sometimes it's in a marriage, sometimes it's between siblings, sometimes it's between parents, or sometimes between children. But but by investing with good people and putting in the effort, you'll have true joy. That's the first thing. The second idea is that Aaron was genuinely happy for Moshe's success, even though naturally he should have been hurt, it should have been insulted, it should have been hard for him, but he was happy for Moshe's success. And Hashem says, if you're happy for, Torah shows us that when you're happy for another person, it'll bring you joy as well. It's not just he'll be happy for Aaron happy for Moshe, and therefore Moshe, don't worry about it, go become leader. No, it's also saying, how will Aaron be able to be happy? By being happy for Moshe. When a person is selfish, they can never truly be happy. When a person is selfless, you can become happy all the time. You're happy for people. If you read the news and you see that a group of soldiers came back safely, it makes us happy. Why are you happy? You don't know them. You don't even know if you like them. If you would sit them in the room and they wouldn't be wearing the uniform and they would just be regular people, you might not even enjoy company with them. You might be so completely different than them. But right now, you see them as as fellow Jews, and we see them as courageous people who are putting their life on their line and risking their life, ready to sacrifice their life for fellow Jews. We see them as tzaddikim. We're just happy that they came back safe. We're happy for them. We're happy for their families. We're happy for it becomes our personal happiness. And the happiness to know that they're doing safely, whether it's the soldiers or people living in Israel, etc., or people here, whatever it is, becomes such a strong happiness that it makes us feel happier than anything else that we could have done. Give a person $1,000, or tell a person, give a person $1,000,000. Say, what makes you happier, to have $1,000,000? I'm not talking about the security that it brings, but the joy, the opportunity is going to come to you, or to know that no other Jews should, God forbid, get hurt in this war in Israel. You'll say for sure other Jews. Not just because you'll sacrifice your happiness for their safety. It makes me happier that they're safe than it is for myself to have pleasure. Being happy for others is a greater sense of joy than being happy than something for yourself. Now, this is if you're normal, but if we're selfish and we have to work on ourselves, they made studies that show that by holiday time, people receive gifts, give gifts, and they saw clearly that the giving someone else a gift makes a person much more happier than receiving a gift. So this is the first thing. You want to be happy. It comes whether it's your whole life you want to be happy, or the month of Adar you want to be happy. It comes by helping others, whether it's financially giving tzedakah or giving time to spend with others, uplifting up someone else's spirits, being there for someone, knowing you're making a difference for someone, helping someone. This is the greatest cause of happiness. And even when it's not being a big hero and helping someone, but just spending quality time with people, good people, this is a source of joy. And this is the first lesson in the Torah. Now, just in a side note, the Rabbi says about Purim, brings from the Rambam, how Purim, there's 4 mitzvahs: to read the Megillah, have a Suda, exchange gifts of food, and matanas of Yenim, give tzedakah to the poor people. And the Rambam says that the greatest simcha is really of Purim is in matanas of Yenim, and giving poor people, in giving poor people the food, money, giving tzedakah to poor people. Now, the Rebbe says a whole beautiful sikha, a very deep sikha about this concept. But I want to bring in a side point that you see. I think it's not that what is the most important simcha is by helping poor people who don't have anything and you're giving them their needs. I think is you want to be happy. I'm putting you have to be happy. You have to be adalayada. You have to be infinitely happy. So how do you do it? You have to do all these things. You exchange gifts of food with your friends. Having good friends and doing favors for each other, being generous with each other makes us happy. And reading the story and learning Torah makes us happy. And having a beautiful meal with your family makes you happy. And drinking, that's why you're supposed to put him, supposed to say l'chaim, it makes us happy. But where is the greatest simcha? I'm not even what's the most important simcha. But what will make you happiest? The happiest feeling you'll get is by actually giving tzedakah. Helping people will actually make you the happiest. So Purim, you have to be infinitely happy. You have to give as much tzedakah as you could, because also for yourself, trying to keep the mitzvah yourself, you'll get it through being happy. The next time that we find that I recall seeing the idea of simcha is in Kisavai. In the Teichacha, it says over there, when Hashem, Moshe Rabbeinu says that by doing the mitzvahs, we're going by if we don't keep the mitzvahs, Hashem will punish us. So it says that all these punishments are coming because that this is all happening because you didn't serve Hashem with joy, and because you didn't serve Hashem, you didn't do Torah mitzvahs with a lot of joy, therefore you're having all these punishments. Now, the simple meaning to the pasuk is that when you had everything was good, life was good, you were happy, you didn't do the mitzvahs, you forgot about Hashem, therefore Hashem is bringing all these problems. But Arizal says that we have to read the pasuk a little differently, the deeper meaning to the pasuk. That had the Yidden done, they did the mitzvahs, but they didn't do it with joy. And because they didn't do mitzvahs with joy, therefore the punishments is coming. Which means, but because that really they did mitzvahs and they did sin, they did averis, they did both. But the mitzvahs are outweighing the averis. I'm sorry, but even though they did mitzvahs and averis, but they're still getting punished for the averis they did. Even though they did mitzvahs, the mitzvahs is not strong enough. These Jews' mitzvahs were not strong enough to protect them from the punishment from the sins they did. But had they served Hashem b'simcha, had they done the same mitzvahs they did, but had they done it with simcha, then they would. Had they done the very same mitzvah with simcha, the mitzvahs would have protected them from all the punishments. So simcha is very, very powerful. And Arizal said the reason he merited to have all these great divine inspiration, to be able to fly through all the spiritual levels of Gan Eden and the spiritual levels of Atilos and Bria Tzirasiya and Adam Kadmon and all these Tzimtzum, everything before Tzimtzum and after Tzimtzum, he merited all these Ruach HaKodesh because of Simcha Shel Mitzvah, because he did the mitzvahs with joy. The joy is what brought him this special. The joy of the mitzvahs is what brought him the special Ruach HaKodesh. There's a story that is told. I don't remember by which tzaddik. That was once a tzaddik. There was once a chassid whose child was very sick, so he came to the Rebbe, to one of the big tzaddikim, and asked for a blessing for his son to have a miracle, to have a cure. And the Rebbe basically answered in a way that the chassid realized the Rebbe couldn't help him. Maybe he saw that the decree was sealed. His son was going to die. He needed a miracle, and there was no miracle coming. So chassid was very broken. God forbid, the worst thing, to lose a child. And he left the room and very broken, very sad. And as he walked out, there were the Hasidim that were dancing. I don't remember if they were dancing, and it could be for Kiddush Levana. After Kiddush Levana, it's a custom to dance, or for another reason. And they pulled him in. They say, "You just merited to be with the Rebbe in the Rebbe's room. You should be happy. You should be dancing." The Chassid, so what dancing? This is the worst nightmare is happening. Is going to happen now. So he couldn't. He wouldn't feel like dancing, but he didn't have a choice. They didn't want to argue with them. They started putting him on his shoulders, and they were dancing and singing, and he's just sitting there, and he's thinking about what's going on, and then he tells himself, "But I'm still a Jew, and a Jew needs to serve Hashem with joy always. In all situations, you have to be happy." Now, I just want to say, God forbid, no one should go through this, and I don't want to, but no one should experience this. But this is what this chassid felt. You always have to be happy. And somehow he started saying at the end of the day, I continue tell himself, I'm still going to believe in Hashem. I'm still going to serve Hashem, even though this is happening. And he has to thank Hashem for the opportunity. He's a Jew. He's happy that no matter how long he lives, he's a Yid, and a Yid has to be happy that he's a Yid. And he kept on telling himself, I'm a Yid, and I have to be happy I'm a Yid. And we have Torah mitzvahs, and I have to be happy. And somehow he started dancing. Just even if you lost it all, you still have you're still a Yid, and you still have to be happy about that. And he really started dancing happily, saying no matter what, he can never lose his Jewish identity and his connection to Hashem and Torah mitzvahs, and that's eternal, that's everywhere. And he managed to be happy about it. And after a few minutes of him dancing for real, the Rebbe's secretary or called him back, said, the Rebbe wants to see you. Comes back to the Rebbe's room, and the Rebbe says, I wasn't able to help you before when you came to me, because I saw the decree against your child was sealed. But through your simcha shel mitzvah, through your rejoicing uh, for the mitzvah, for the sake of Hashem, that simcha was so powerful that it canceled the decree, and your son is going to have a miracle, and he's going to have, a God willing, a long life. And that came in the merit of the simcha shel mitzvah. Going back to this, what this chassid, what he thought about to become happy, there was a famous chassid in Russia that was from Russia, and then he ended up living in Eretz Yisrael after. He's one of the most famous Chabad chassidim. He was a legend, not just after he passed away, but even during his lifetime, he was always a legend. Even when he was stuck in Russia, his name was, even when he was stuck in Russia, the American chassidim would speak about him as one of the greatest chassidim in our times. They didn't know how he looked. They never saw him. These were people that were born the next generation. But you speak about him as this tremendous chassid who was living in Russia. His name was Mendel Futterfass. This chassid Mendel, he was a very smart person. He was what Hebrew is called a pikach. He was very wise, and he was very, and he worked on himself to have a lot of love to every Jew. He risked his life to help anyone he could, and he was a very, very talented person. This Mendel Futterfass, he would go. He was very sharp, and so he lived during the hard times of the revolution in Russia, and then the communists. So everything had to be on all the Jewish life had to go to the underground, and he was very active in running it, and he did different positions. He was able to teach Torah, he was able to build mikvahs, he was able to collect money, he did business on the black market, and he made money, and he used that to support, didn't use it for himself, he used it just to support the yeshivas, pay the small salaries for the teachers, to buy bread for their families. And he was from the top people in all the communal work of Russia. And then his most daring achievement came after the war, after the Holocaust, so World War II. So there were a lot of Polish citizens who fled into Russia, and for various reasons, Russia wanted to let them go back to Poland. So they said that anyone with old Polish citizens could return to Russia. So the Chassidim could return to Poland. Now you had there all the Chabad Chassidim. They wanted to leave Russia. They were stuck behind the Iron Curtain, but they were Russian. They weren't Polish. So they thought of how about claiming they would get Russian citizenship. But it's very dangerous, because how are you going to get Polish passports? They don't speak any Polish. So it was a very dangerous plan. At the end, Mendel Futterfass was one of the top Hasidim. He was a Russian Chassid with big bushy beard, and he never went to any school. He was just in yeshiva. And this Chassid, but he was very shrewd. He's very sharp. He risked his life to make illegal passports, and he whether he did it some through bribing, some through taking pictures and making fake passports. It was easier than it is today. Some by finding Polish citizens and buying their identification. Somebody found dead Poles, and he got the Polish people, and he got their identification. But he ended up, him and another few, but he was from the main ones, probably from the main three, who risked his life to get out the other fellow Jews. And he saved 1,000 Chabad people, the men, women, children, their families. And he knew that the Russian had spies everywhere. So he knew already he was being followed. But he said he'd sent his wife and children out, but he stayed in Russia. He said as long as there's fellow Jews who want to leave, and it's dangerous for them to stay because the Russian communists were killing all the religious Jews. He said as long as he could stay and save Jews, he knows that he's much more capable than most of the other people. He's going to stay. And it ended up being that he knew he was being followed, and he even went to his mother and asked his mother what he should do. His mother was a giant of a lady herself. She also was a smart business lady, and her husband died young. Her husband actually died when she was pregnant with this Chassid Mendel. He was named after his own father. And he asked his mother, what should he do? Should he just escape now because he knows he's being followed? He sees people waiting for him. He sees people following him in the streets. He knows people are after him. But if once he leaves, he knows he can't save. He knows he can't save anyone else. So if he leaves, or should he stay until he'll be caught and he knows what end he'll have? And his own mother, who was a very strong lady, and she gave up everything she could to keep Judaism alive. She told her son, and imagine how a mother has to tell it to her own son. She said, Mendel, stay as long as you could. She encouraged him to stay. And he ended up leaving his mother and his wife and children left, and he was arrested shortly after, and he was stuck. They left in 1946, 47, and he ended up leaving Russia. The Rebbe was involved in getting him to leave Russia in 1964. So 18 years he didn't see his family. But he did it to help other Jews be able to come out in safety, and he succeeded. Most of the Chabad, the original Chabad, were from Russia, and they ended up with the Rebbe used them as a shluchim and to rebuild Judaism for Chabad community, and then the whole world all came out through that. Many of the original Chabad rabbis were all from these people that Mendel's Futterfass saved. So when Mendel Futterfass was arrested, he was tortured in a prison for many months. They wouldn't let him. They tortured him night after night, try to get him to inform who helped him and make the illegal passports, etc. And he refused to tell them any names. And he was a very strong person. All the fellow Russians, the non-Jewish ones, they all respected him because they saw how he didn't inform on anyone. And they tortured him very badly. At the end, he was sent to Siberia. He was there for maybe about 8 years, a hard labor camp. And they would sit at night to him with the fellow prisoners. And most of these prisoners were normal people, but the communists, they just arrested everyone and they sent everyone to prison. For anyone that claimed that this person was not a loyal communist, or anyone was caught in doing something illegal in the black market, because you couldn't make normal money working normally. So everyone had to do something a little bit black market. They were sent off to Siberia. So the Russian Chassid, so he was sitting in the gulags over there with fellow people. So yeah, some were regular criminals, thieves and murderers, but a lot of them were normal people. And they asked me, they said, Mendel, how are you always? He was a very happy person. They said, how are you able to be happy? Your wife and kids are in a different country. Naturally, you'll never be able to see them again. They're never going to let you leave the Iron Curtain. Even if you get out of this prison camp alive, you're never going to be able to get out of Russia, the Iron Curtain. So imagine how a father feels never going to be able to see his children again, never to see his wife again. He knows that his family's suffering. And yet, how are you able to be, and life's so difficult here. He's being a slave over here. How is he able to be happy? So he told them like this. He says, why are you guys not able to be happy? Why are you unhappy? They said, of course, why are you unhappy? We're in this life, away from our family, away from our lives. He says, yeah, all of you had plans. One of you was planning on being an engineer. The other one wanted to become a doctor. The other one wanted to be a lawyer. The other one wanted to be but we're going to politics, become a whatever, do things for in the community, a mayor, whatever they wanted to be. And all your plans were ruined. The communists took you, arrested you, threw you here, and if you get back, a lot of times they couldn't get back the original post because they said you're a criminal, you're not a loyal communist. They wouldn't let you have such a job. So you had great plans for your life, and your life was ruined, and therefore you're depressed. It's sad. He says, but my plan always was to serve Hashem. And therefore, I'm happy always. I'm happy when I was happy then when I was serving Hashem before I got into prison with my family. And I'm serving Hashem here also. Hashem wants me here, then this is where I got to serve Hashem. So my life was hurt, but my purpose was never taken away from him. He was saying never taken away from him. So therefore, he remains happy because he still has the same purpose he had then, he has now. They say another story about two famous tzaddikim, the friends of the Alter Rebbe. One of them, his name was Reb Zusha of Anapoli, and the other one, his name was Reb Elimelech from Lizhensk. They were two brothers, and they decided to. They at that time it was a common thing that great, serious, pious people, Yidden, would go out in Golos. They would go into exile. They felt that how could they sit here, relaxed in their own home, even though it was Europe 300 years ago, there was nothing too grand about their poor lives. But they said when Hashem's in Golos, Hashem's in exile because the Mashiach's not here, and the Beis Hamikdash is not in Yerushalayim, is not built yet. Hashem's in exile. How can we enjoy our life? We have to also feel the Golos. We have to also feel the exile. That was one reason. Another reason is they wanted to go help fellow Jews. So they went to all the different shtetls, all the different little villages where there would be a few Jews or one Jew and having a krechma, having his inn, and they would go to him and they would try to help them with whatever way they could. So, and they used that to help Jews. They would go and see what they needed. Sometimes they needed spiritual help, sometimes they needed material help, physical help, but they helped whatever way they could. There was some stigim then who would do pidyon shvuyim. They used to Jews who were put in jail for not being able to pay the rent to their parents, to their like landlord. So they would help them that way. So that was a common thing at that time. So one time, these two brothers were accused falsely of doing some crime and they're put into jail. And they're in jail and they realize they're in a room with a bunch of other criminals, Ukrainian criminals, not a very pleasant place to be. And they realize they say everything's from Hashem. Hashem does everything for the good. So they're going to be happy. They have to accept it they accepted the will of Hashem with love. But then they said, okay, what are we here? Let's start davening. They are saying Tehillim and learning Torah, saying davening to Hashem to help them. And then they realized that in the middle of the room is a big pot, and a bucket, and that bucket is where people go to the bathroom. And the halacha is that you're not allowed to daven or say any words of Torah in a room where you have a toilet, and that bucket is used as a toilet. So one of the brothers started crying. He says he's so sad that he's stuck in a room where you can't daven, you can't learn Torah, you can only think it, but you can't say it. And now he became really upset, and he started crying. So his brother started saying, why are you upset? He says, what do you mean? How can I be upset? We can't daven here. We're stuck here and we can't do any mitzvahs and say any Torah. We can't daven. He says, so why can't you say it? Because Torah says you can't say it. Because Shulchan Aruch says you can't do it. Halacha says you can't do it. So it's the will of Hashem. The will of Hashem is that we should be in this jail because it wasn't anything they did on their own. They themselves they didn't do anything wrong. They didn't do any crimes, God forbid. So this is what Hashem wanted. They should be here. And Hashem, the same Hashem wants them. They should be here. Wants that it should be that there should be a toilet, a bucket here, where they shouldn't be able to learn Torah. So by them sitting here, by them sitting in this room, not saying Torah, they're fulfilling the halacha. Halacha is you're in such a room, you're not allowed to daven, you're not allowed to say Torah, you're not allowed to say Tehillim. So they're doing the mitzvah of honoring the holy words of Torah and of davening by not saying in a room with a bucket of a toilet. So therefore, we're doing the will of Hashem. So we should be happy we're doing the will of Hashem. Who cares if it's not our business to decide if the will of Hashem is we should daven or the will of Hashem is we shouldn't daven. we are fulfilling the will of Hashem. We are right now the way Hashem wants us to do so. And with that, they started speaking about how lucky they are to fulfill the will of Hashem in this place, at this time, where Hashem wants them to be at this moment. And this is the way they'll be able to fulfill the halach at this time. And they got happy. They started singing a song. They started singing a song. They started singing another song. And they started dancing. And meanwhile, they're sitting here and they're between themselves, ignoring everyone else, and they're singing and dancing. So the guards come, they hear noise, they open up the door, and they see two Jews dancing. They say, "What are they?" Ask, "What are these guys dancing about?" So the fellow guard, the fellow prisoner says, "We're not sure, but they were standing here talking about this bucket, and after a while, talking about this bucket, this toilet bucket, they just started singing and dancing." The guard says, "Oh, they love this bucket. I'll show them." He takes the bucket, he takes it out of the room, and now they're able to daven. Now they're really happy, and they're able to say Tehillim. They're able to daven. So, going back to the point of simcha, so the Torah is saying that when we are besim, that's Torah mitzvahs has to be done besimcha. The first time Torah simcha is mentioned is I don't be happy. So when you connect it to tzaddikim, when you have good friends, it brings you simcha. The second time it's brought in is when it says about Torah mitzvahs have to be done besimcha. Now, but when you understand the nature of joy, that you're only really happy in things when you only have the feeling of joy in the beginning, the initial time, but after a while you get used to it. It doesn't give you joy anymore. Even the most important things to us, our family, our marriage, you're happy, it's important to you, but you don't have the same feelings when you're newlywed. It's just not the way Hashem made us. Our hearts, as time passes, that those joyous feelings they go away. It's still very important. Still, you love them. Important that you have the children as much as you love your children. But you can't say I'm as happy as today as I was the day the child was born. No, when the child was born, you were in a high. You were so excited. I love them equally as I loved them the day they were born. They're as important to me, or even more important to me, as the day they were born. I appreciate the brachas even more than the day they were born, but I don't have that excited feeling in my heart. So how could I have the excited feeling when I do Torah mitzvahs? And I was thinking this is based on what we said last week in the parsha, in Parsha Yisrael, and we say it every day in Shema. We say in Shema, these words, which I command you today, be upon your heart. So what's it mean that Hashem commanded us today? It didn't command today. He commanded us 3,300 years ago. So Rashi explains from the Gemara, every day Torah mitzvah has to be new to you. Every day we have to have a fresh excitement that Torah mitzvah was new. Why? Because when you think how mitzvahs come from the essence of Hashem, the atzmos, and you get connected to the essence of Hashem by doing Torah mitzvahs, every day you say, I'm getting connected, because the connection to Hashem that I'm doing Torah mitzvahs is a new connection. Yes, yesterday I was connected to Hashem, but today I'm getting connected again. And since the connection to Hashem is a new connection, because I'm being reconnected every day, and it's actually in today's Tanya, that every time you do a mitzvah, this mitzvah is eternal. Yichud, the Rabbi would always quote this Tanya. Yichud zeh nitzchi leilam vad. This yichud, this oneness of I get that when I do a mitzvahs, Torah mitzvahs, I become one with Hashem. This connection, I become one with Hashem, remains eternal. But I do another mitzvah, I have another eternal connection. I have another eternal connection. So every Torah mitzvah is in a way a new connection to Hashem, and the connection lasts eternally. So since I'll be able to have when I realize Torah mitzvahs is like this, it gives me a new connection to Hashem, then I'm able to have a fresh excitement because I'm getting connected today. Yes, yesterday I put on tefillin, but my tefillin today makes me a fresh connection to Hashem, and it makes me very, very happy. So even though I did Torah mitzvah my whole life, but as long as you have with the spirit of what Chassidus gives, when you learn Chassidus, that big focus of Chassidus is on being happy and having the joy in Torah mitzvahs, and on realizing feeling the godliness in Torah mitzvahs, not just a duty I have to do for Hashem. Hashem gives me all these blessings, so I owe Him back. I have to, do the checklist back for Him. But no, I have to have the love and the excitement, the feelings for Torah mitzvahs, and feel the kedush, the holiness of it, and here I feel that I'm coming one with Hashem and I'm making Hashem happy. So when I'm able to do it like that, then I have a fresh excitement every time I do the Torah mitzvahs. And then in addition to that, we have Yom Tov. With Yom Tov, it says, Samachta v'chagecha. On Yom Tov, you have to be b'simcha. So on Yom Tov, we have a source of joy, which again, it comes Yom Tov. So I'm making Kiddush on Pesach or Sukkot or Shavuos, whatever, and now I'm going to automatically be happy. So it demands work. It demands appreciating of all the gifts Hashem gave you, and through that I could be happy. The next time is in Kisava. It says, it says that if you give me bikurim, you bring bikurim, you bring the first fruits to Hashem, and then you'll be able to rejoice in all the good Hashem gave you. And it says it also. You do vidu ma'aser. You thank Hashem. Basically, when you give all your gifts, when to Hashem, and you recognize, but they bikurim. What's bikurim? The first fruits you have to give to Hashem. You have to bring to the Mishkan. You bring the Beis Hamikdash and give it to the Kohen. You put it in the Mizbeach, and the Kohen eats it. When a person realizes that everything I have is from Hashem, and you will become grateful for all our brachas. You sit and for a few minutes, you go through all the brachas you have in your life, yourself, your health, your family, your experiences, your opportunities, the Torah mitzvahs, Rabbi Smith, you get to have such a Rosh Kohen like Rabbi Smith, you have all the tremendous blessings that Hashem gives you, then you realize, I have so much to be grateful about. I have so much to be thank you to Hashem. You say thank you to Hashem. That's what Bikurim is about. You say thank you, Hashem. Though when you tell Hashem thank you for all these blessings you give me, you say Meida Ani in the morning. Thank you, Hashem, for giving me a new day and my neshama to be able to have this day, an opportunity. Then you're able to be happy. And the final one that I thought of, and it's almost 4:00, is that we say in Zeis Habracha, Smach Zvulun b'tzeisecha v'Yisachar be'elecha. That Yisachar and Zvulun were called partners. Zvulun would go out and work, and Yisachar would stay and learn Torah. And there also, the Moshe Rabbeinu says they should rejoice. So you see that here they're have simcha, in both ways. Whether you're a Zvulun Yid, whether a Yid who has to work most of the time, but knows that I'm working and giving half my money to support Torah learning. So I'm able to support educate the people learning Torah, doing mitzvahs and education. And whether you're a Yisachar Yid, that you're sitting and learning Torah all day, but you know that you're being supported, you're representing your partner, which is Zvulun, the one supporting you. When you have whatever way you're serving Hashem, where Hashem makes some people be the Zvulun part, Hashem makes some people be the Yisachar part. But you're serving Hashem with the way He gave you, the situation He put you, the opportunities He gave you. Then a person has purpose in their life. Their purpose is serve Hashem, whichever way Hashem gave me. But I have purpose. That sense of purpose, smach, brings us simcha. I want to wish everyone a good chaydash and a happy chaydash, and the simcha we all have for the brachas we have should bring all the brachas and bring the fiach now.
Shkoyach, thank you so much, Rabbi Dalfin. That was so interesting that you weave together all the different sources of simcha in the Chumash. And